the numerous storylines in Mad About Murder. In fact, Malvado's death and involvement seem like the kind of convenient coincidence that only occurs on television. Although it offers closure that is more focused on the audience than the characters, it is the weakest aspect of a strong episode. In addition to offering chances for action and high stakes, the hitman plot was humorous. Compared to the April Fool's purging scenario, Nolan's purposefully cheesy joke about how being a hitman is murder, to two unfortunate con artists entangled in the hunt for the murderers had a more balanced tone. This episode demonstrates how, at its finest, the rookie avoids and subverts hackneyed clichés, even though it is not immune to them. The professional assassin's lack of empathy, in contrast to the innocent child or mistreated husband apprehended in April Fool's, is a key component of this achievement. The episode's other story is directly related to Juarez's sister's death at the hands of a police officer and how this tragedy continues to haunt her life. When Lucy Chen learns that a real crime podcast has taken up the case, Juarez rushes straight to the host, Heather, to confront her. When Juarez arrives, Carla, her mother, sits for an interview. The brief interactions between Juarez and Heather in Mad About Murder serve as a vehicle for the episode's scathing indictment of those who use tragedy for their own amusement. It's not a narrative. My life is at stake and the murder of my sister is not amusement. For those like you, vultures profiting from the suffering of others. Shame on you, Selena said to Heather, the podcast host. There is, of course, a tradition of true crime on The Rookie, which will continue in episode 15. The exploitative tone of these podcasts does contrast with these documentary-style episodes. According to Heather, victims require Juarez to keep the memory of victims alive in the minds of their loved ones, calling her and the continuing inquiry into the kidnapping of a young woman sexy. Heather and her podcast aren't funny, in contrast to the comic tone of the documentary episodes. Juarez and Chin run into Taylor, who is searching for her missing sister Aria, while confronting Heather. After taking up the case, the two officers save her from Greta, a deranged woman. She wanted the young woman's child for herself, so she abducted Aria. Juarez was the hero in this case, even though Chin heroically bounded through a window to save the infant. She saved another sister from experiencing the same kind of loss that she did. Throughout, Chavez gave an outstanding performance, but it was most noteworthy at the poignant scene in which Juarez sobs as she sees Taylor and Aria reconnect. Season 7 marked the Rookie's comeback in a number of ways. When Penn and the now-fired Seth Ridley were introduced, the program's focus shifted back to educating street-level police officers. However, in the first two seasons, which concentrated on more conventional procedural-style crimes, episodes such as Mad About Murder were uncommon. Although the stories of Aria and the hunt for hitmen were unrelated, they were both pertinent to the episode's ironic title. It seems to be the type of narrative that only this series is capable of providing. Fans of The Rookie were divided by Juarez's early appearances. Some were enchanted by her antics, while others weren't. In addition to adding more emotion to the character, her hunt for Aria improves her relationship with Chen because they end up sharing a room. The street-level focus highlights her development as a cop and a person, as well as how well Nolan trained her. It's more satisfying when she saves Aria's life because of the personal stakes. It gives the show the chance to criticize murder podcasts for trivializing sorrow and taking advantage of the families of its subjects.